Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this edition of JDE Talks. My name is Pim van der Boogaard, and I work as Senior Account Executive at Quistor. And at Quistor, I help our clients move workloads to the Oracle Cloud and help them get the most out of their Oracle software investments. Today's session is all about what comes after your migration to the Oracle Cloud. We will explore how JD Edwards can unlock real, measurable value by running an OCI, not just as a hosting solution, but as a strategic enabler for innovation, agility, and cost optimization. So whether you are in the early stages of considering cloud adoption, or you've already migrated and you are looking to maximize your investment, this webinar will offer insights, best practices, and real-world examples to help you move forward with confidence. Now, before we dive in, let's look at who we have on this webinar here today. I have with me today three amazing colleagues of mine at Quistor. I have Luis, Desiree, and Michaela. And I want to say thanks for taking the time to attend, taking the time to present during today's webinar. Could you briefly introduce yourselves to the audience, please? Michaela, can you start?
Yes, sure. My name is Michaela Rossi, and I was working for Quistor for the last 6 years now. And I'm a cloud consultant specialized in middleware solutions. Desi?
Hello, my name is Desiree. I'm a cloud consultant in Quistor. Before joining Quistor, I was part of the Oracle Cloud team, and I'm specialized in pre-sales and DR solutions.
And finally, I'm Luis Mediero. I'm the Cloud and Data Solutions Director at Quistor. I was working in Quistor. I'm working in Quistor during the last 13 years, and I'm here to explain some topics about disaster recovery, real cases.
Amazing. Thanks. So, before we dive into the content, let's walk through today's agenda. We've structured this session to give you a mix of strategic insights and practical takeaways, all centered around maximizing the value of JDE on Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. We will start by addressing one of the lower hanging fruits that you can benefit from when migrating to OCI, which is single sign-on via IDCS. Next, we will explore how OCI enables comprehensive disaster recovery for your entire JDE stack, from infrastructure to applications, and we will show you how to build resilience without any complexity. Now, after this, we will look at how Oracle Integration Cloud can help you connect JD Edwards with other systems, whether on-premise or in the cloud, unlocking automation and agility across your business processes. Now, finally, we're going to wrap up with expert insights, and we're going to run a live Q&A session. So that is your chance to ask any questions you have, share challenges, and get direct input from the team. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to put them in the questions tab in the platform. Okay, then I suggest we dive in, and I will start with the first topic. So imagine you've just completed the heavy lifting. You've migrated JD Edwards to Oracle Cloud on OCI. That's a major milestone, and it's a reason for celebration, of course. But now let's talk about something very simple but impactful, which is often overlooked, namely single sign-on, SSO. Right now, users are often still juggling multiple logins in JDE, Oracle applications, and maybe even third-party tools. This is clunky, it's inefficient, and it's actually quite unnecessary also. Now, the good news is that on OCI, you have integrations with Azure AD, Okta, and other IDPs. And that means that enabling SSO for JDE is not a complex project. It's just a configuration task. So let's walk through the setup for enabling single sign-on using Entra ID via Oracle IDCS. To begin, this integration requires contracting IDCS, which is Oracle Identity Cloud Service. This is the foundational identity platform that will handle authentication and federation. Next, we need to create an app gateway server in Oracle Cloud. Now, this is going to act as the secure bridge between your internal applications and the identity services. Once the infrastructure is in place, we can set up the federation between Entra ID and IDCS. And this step ensures that users authenticated with Microsoft Entra ID can now seamlessly access Oracle applications without needing to log in again. Now, the beauty of this setup is that it is widely applicable. So this means that it is not limited to a single use case. It can be leveraged for orchestrations, AIS, and eventually also extended to Oracle, to other Oracle products, as your environment might continue to evolve. Now, as you can see in the diagram, the flow starts with the user accessing an application through a browser, which routes through a load balancer to the app gateway servers. Now, these servers then interact with IDCS and Entra ID to authenticate the user and grant access. The architecture provides a scalable and secure SSO solution that aligns with all modern identity standards. Now, so far goes SSO, but another topic of interest for many of our clients who are moving or who have already moved their JDE instance to the Oracle Cloud is disaster recovery. Desiree, can you tell us a bit more about disaster recovery?
Sure. One of the main challenges of all the JDE customers like you is how am I protected in case that my primary site had any outage? Oracle, about 1 year ago, has released a new solution called Full Stack Disaster Recovery Solution that enables JDE customers to have a complete, resilient, and cost-effective DR solution in OCI. Full Stack DR is an OCI solution that enables customers to activate the DR process directly from the OCI console. So we activate it directly from the standby region from a button. And what the solution does is to use the OCI native backup capabilities for each component. For example, we use DataGuard for the databases, block storage replication for our virtual machines, following Oracle best practices, so we don't need any third-party software. What we do is to configure built plans for each resource type. So we have the flexibility in a very easy way to adapt our DR plan to several use cases. For example, we can have a dry run DR process, a switch over DR process, and a failover DR process. The solution allows us to do pre-checks so we can validate our solution without having any impact on our production environment. And that also helps us in the audits because of the logs state in the solution. And here we have a screenshot of how to execute a DR plan. We only need to go through the OCI console and click on execute DR plan. That's very easy. So the solution is very cost effective and provides us the flexibility to configure a cool DR, a cool standby DR. So we only pay a small license for the full stack solution, and we pay for the block storage, but that's it done in any other DR design, and the data guard. The advantage of OCI is that we don't pay for the networking component of the virtual machine because they are off. And in case of the activation of the DR, we activate them. And we have here an example of JDE architecture using full stack disaster recovery. My colleague Luis now will talk about this later, but we have a design that enabled us to keep the same IP ranges, so we don't need to reconfigure IPs in our application layer. This is an example of application groups for JDE customer we have implemented in another customers. In the primary region, we have all the resources, and in standby region, we have all the resources ready to be deployed in case we have an outage. If you want, Luis, you can go through the use cases of Full Stack DR.
Thank you, Desiree. Okay, now we talk about the real world and how we can implement the disaster recovery in our JDE implementations. The three topics that I would like to explain to all of you is who can use it, what is the key to use it, and which benefits we can have with this implementation. All of these topics are really important when you take the decision to implement JDE disaster recovery. And we will go to the technical details about how we can do that and why we should do in this way. Okay. The first is which customers are using it right now. We need to explain first that the full stack disaster recovery is a product that Oracle deployed 1 year ago in OCI tenants. Quistor was the beta tester team to do the first test of the environment together with Oracle team. So we have a lot of experience even before to have the product in general availability. And after this, after the first version, Oracle improved a lot the product. And now, to be honest, we consider that it's a mature product and we are using this product in a lot of customers. Which customers? Okay, JD and non-JD. Obviously, this is really good for the JD workloads, but we can use this product for other workloads. Okay, so don't think only in this solution for JD. If you have JD plus additional workloads in OCI, we can implement, or you can implement the solution for all the workloads. And what the customers are looking for with this solution, the first thing that the customer is looking for is to have a minimum RTO. Okay, if you think in manual or traditional disaster recoveries with manual copies and manual implementation of the disaster recovery, you don't have orchestration. You need to do a lot of work manually, and that manual work is increasing the RTO. Okay, and even for the JD, we are using a new functionality that it was implemented in the last version of the product. That is the possibility to use the same IPs, as Desiree mentioned in her slides, the same IPs in the virtual machines and even in the database with a small trick. Later, I will explain better. Okay, that is really important for the JD workloads. Why? Because JD, as you know, are really close to the database. So if we change the IPs, even the range, the complete range of the IPs in the disaster recovery, it means that we need to do a lot of manual reconfigurations in the environment. So that's why the customers that they need to have a minimum RTO, they use this solution. And obviously, with full stack, the name is pretty clear. It's a product perfect for customers that they would like to have a complete disaster recovery, not only the database. In the next slide, I will explain better. Because why or what is the key here? The key here is to keep the same IPs. You see the architecture that Desiree explained before. And here we have a really special component that is the CMAN. CMAN is the connection manager, okay? Because as you know, in a data guard, we cannot replicate the database to the same IP. So if we have two databases, we have two databases replicating with data guard, the standby database must have a different IP. It's mandatory to have a different IP, okay? So we use CMAN, or we put CMAN in the middle to masquerade the IP. What I mean with this, the standby will have a different IP because it's necessary to do the data guard. But for the application layer, all the web servers, all the enterprise servers, the deployment server, everything in the ecosystem of JD, the database has the same IP because CMAN has two IPs. One is the IP connected to the standby database in the range that the standby database is, and another network has the IP of the original database. So when we jump to the disaster recovery, all the applications will connect to the same IP that we have in production. And CMAN is unmasqueraded that. The other important topic here is that we can reconfigure really fast the remote access. In OCI, it's pretty simple to do that. Obviously, we need to keep pre-configured the remote connection, but with a simple change in our firewalls, we will have the connection from on-premise to the Oracle Cloud to the new environment or to the standby environment as soon as we need to jump to the environment. That's for me the keys in the JDE. Have the same IPs, use the CMAN, and really fast remote access reconfiguration. And finally, what's other benefits? Some of them I anticipate in my previous slide, but most of our customers, traditional JD customers, they are having, because it's something usual, they are having a disaster recovery focus only in the database. When a customer wants to have the basic disaster recovery, obviously in JD, most of the information are in the database, even the code are there. So having the database with a good disaster recovery environment, we are protected, okay, or mostly protected. However, with the full stack disaster recovery, we have an end-to-end protection. So we can replicate, as Desiree mentioned, all the tiers of JD. The database, of course, but even the WebLogics, the enterprise servers, and the integrations. So with this solution, this simple solution and cheap solution, we have everything on place. The other topic is really important for the CNC teams, okay, is we avoid the long disaster recovery rule books. I remember years ago when I was doing disaster recoveries in the traditional way, we have Excels, big Excels with all the steps that we need to do in the disaster recovery, because we need to execute a lot of the steps to test the disaster recovery. It means that in a real disaster recovery, the rule book is the same, even more. Okay, so with this solution, we automate a lot of things. The 90% of the steps that you need to go to file over or to switch over is are automated. Okay. With this, even we eliminate the human errors, because if you have a real disaster recovery, the people are usually on pressure, and obviously you can't have everything documented. You need to follow the steps, but in this pressure that you have to have the system ready as soon as possible in a real disaster recovery, you can make mistakes. With this solution and this automatization, you avoid this, you eliminate these human errors. Obviously, as I put here, you can automate the entire process. That is not something that I like. I prefer to automate most of the disaster recovery process. So the decision to jump and the first step to execute the process, even with the full stack disaster recovery, must be done by a human, okay? Because the system can automate, even with any human intervention, the jump to the disaster recovery environment. But to be honest, I think nobody is able to take that risk, because we can have ghost failings, and we can jump without any necessary, without any P1 in the environment. And the last, but not least, is the cost efficiency. Okay, it's cloud, and we pay only for what we use and when we use. As the CDS said, one of the possibilities that we have in the full stack disaster recovery is to have a cold replication. It means that we only replicate the data, we only replicate disks, but the virtual machines are not up and running. Okay, so the environment is rapidly starting the virtual machines when we need it. The only exception for that is the database. Data guard is necessary. For the data guard, it's necessary to have both databases up and running, the standby and the production database. But for the rest of the virtual machines, it's not necessary to have everything up and running. We can have stop it and only start the environment when it's needed. It means that we are spending less that we spend with other solutions that we can find in the market. Okay, that's all from my side. Now, I would like to introduce Micaela and the Integration Cloud.
Yeah, so hello. Today we are going to talk about OIC as well. And first of all, what is OIC, or Oracle Integration Cloud? It's a powerful platform that helps us to connect any application and data source, enable process automation within a centralized management. And one of its key strengths is the wide range of pre-built adapters. These adapters make it easy to integrate with cloud applications like Salesforce or on-prem systems like JDE Edwards, and even technologies like FTP, REST, SOAP, and databases. No need to build everything from scratch. OIC already speaks the language of most systems. And if an adapter doesn't exist, we can build our own using the tools and flexibility that OIC provides. OIC is designed to be user-friendly and low-code, which means that we can build integration quickly without deep technological development. It also allows us to invoke OIC functions or even use JavaScript libraries when we need, giving us flexibility to extend logics and handle more complex scenarios, and within a visual and drag-and-drop interface. One of the greatest features of OIC is the activity stream. It gives us detailed logs and visibility into every step of an integration flow that make it easy to track what happened, where it failed, and why, making debugging and monitoring much easier and fast compared to traditional methods. And how we connect it with JDE. One of the ways to connect with JDE is using the native OIC connector or adapter that we already talked about. This allows us to connect directly with JDE functions without needing to use orchestrations or file transfer. It simplifies the architecture and enables real-time communication. However, it does require some setup in JDE, like configuring the AAS server, and it's only available in the enterprise edition of OIC. This is very important. Also, we are limited by the function exposed by this connector, so custom logic may not be as accessible. So how we can do if we need something more? We have another option, and is using FTP connectors and orchestrations. This is a flexible and familiar approach, especially when orchestrations are already in place in JDE. It allows us to handle custom logics and decouple systems. OIC simply drops a files and JDE pick it up and process it. It works well for batch scenarios like edit processing, and it only requires the standard edition of OIC. Even more, there's no need to expose the AAS server. On the downside, it's not real time and monitoring can be more complex. File handling and error recovery also requires more maintenance, and we need to ensure FTP is properly secured. So now we are going to talk about one use case. In that case is the B2B integrations use case. This is something that we have been working for many customers. In that case, a customer wants to connect with their trading partner, and they want to convert from an edit format to a CSV format. Then, using the orchestrations and the FTP, they're gonna pick up the file and integrate with JDE. In that case, as you can see, we have a feature called Trading Partner. In the Trading Partner feature, you can define all the information needed from your partner, since the contact information to the integration that we need to use to integrate with with the JDE, the document type that we are going to work with, and we can define even the checks that we want to make over the files that we are going to receive before process it. Checks and validations. We can also define the documents that we are going to work with. You can use all the standard format like EDI, X12, EDIFACT, XML, etc. But you can also configure more. If you have a customer with a custom EDI format, for example, you can use the customization tool to define what you need. And the best part is that it's really easy to map. As we said, OIC is a drag and drop feature, very visual. So you can find everything well known to know what you are going to map from one side to the other using just a drag and drop tool. And this was one option, but with OIC, you have endless possibilities. From connect with different ERP systems to logistics, and even more. You can send information to your AI platforms to make predict analytics. And well, you can have all the information, all the options that you can imagine.
Amazing. Thanks a lot, Michaela, for explaining. I think in very high speed, we went through many topics. I can imagine there might be questions from the audience. I can actually see that we already have a few. If you have a question, please put them in the questions tab. They are all anonymous, so you cannot see one another's questions. But let's start with addressing the questions that we already received during the presentation. First question is on OIC. The question is, how is Oracle positioning OIC versus Oracle SOA and Orchestrator? And what's the feature of each?
Yeah, OIC is like the new feature that Oracle is promoting instead of SOA. In that case, it's a cloud solution that you can find in Oracle Cloud, and it's the new generation for the integration mainly. So we highly recommend to start using it whenever you can.
I would like to add something. As Michaela said, Orchestrator is still necessary. So we use Orchestrator to OIC. However, OIC is Oracle is positioning this to change from SOA to OIC. We don't have a migration tool. What I mean with this, it's not a simple task that copy paste the processes from SOA to OIC. It's necessary to rewrite the processes. Okay, it's not exactly rewrite, remake, because because it's no code. So, but one of the benefits of OIC is that you improve the complexity. What I mean with this, SOA is a complex environment. We have customers, and Michaela knows our customers with SOA, and you need to have Java developers. You need to have expert architects of the web logics. It's necessary to do a fine tuning of the web logics to have a good performance. All of this is solved in OIC because it's a service. So it's not necessary to have a big knowledge of codification. Obviously, it's necessary to know the functionality of everything, but it's not necessary Java developers. And I don't know if you agree, Michaela, but it's a simplest tool, and
of course,
it's
and
less complex.
And you don't need to maintain the architecture. You don't need to have anything extra, just the service.
You're right. You're right.
Okay, good. Thanks for taking this question. Let's go to the next one, which is on the topic of CMAN. So is CMAN similar to SQL Server always on availability groups? So do you connect via listener name / IP to active replica?
Yes and no, and I would like to explain why. Okay, for me, SQL Server always on is most similar to real application clusters in the database. It's a high availability. In the real application cluster, you have IPs that you move in the availability groups, the same that we have in SQL Server. So SQL Server always on, you have floating IPs that you can move from one node to another node to keep the same IP when you have a problem with the primary node. Okay, it's the same that real application cluster. Here we are talking about a disaster recovery, remote disaster recovery. Usually the full stack disaster recovery, we are using different regions to have the disaster recovery. So we are replicating in a different region. So CMAN is a mask. It's like a network gateway and or a NAT gateway. You know something about networking. When you put a NAT, so you masquerade an IP, it's the same that CMAN is doing for the database. Okay, for me, always on is similar to real application cluster, and here we are talking about data guard. But yeah, it's a little bit different.
Thank you, Luis. We have another question on CMAN, and that the question is, what is the complexity of the configuration of CMAN?
Okay, it's pretty simple. CMAN is part of the SQL client, Oracle SQL client. The configuration of the CMAN is taking around 2 hours, no more. The installation is pretty simple, usually in a Linux machine. I am a fan of Linux, sorry. So I prefer to install everything in Linux. The installation is pretty simple. And then you need to configure 2 text files with the configuration filtering and a few parameters to indicate to the CMAN where the database is. And automatically, the CMAN will connect to the database and recognize all the services that you have in the database and publish those services to the production network, to the other network. So in 2 hours, you have the CMAN configured.
Okay, thank you, Luis. Let's see, final question so far on DR, full stack DR. Do I have to pay a license fee for the DR service?
Yeah, I can answer this one. Yes, you need to pay a small license fee. It's on protected CPU. So that means if I have an active DR, it will be more expensive. But if I have a cold DR, I only pay for the protected OCPU that I have in my primary region. It's a small fee compared with other DR solutions. For the moment now, the OCI is not doesn't cost anything regarding protecting other components. Only the metric is protected CPU. So we don't pay for the load balancer protection groups, for the networking, only for the database CPU and virtual machine CPU.
Okay, clear. Thank you, Desiree. A final call. If anyone has any final question, please feel free. Put it in
I
the...
have only a comment, Pin, because Hector that did the previous question about OIC put that it's a pity that we don't have a migration path from SOA to OIC. Yeah, it's a pity, but it's not an easy task to automate. Okay, and obviously we need to have business. Quistor is a specialist on to do that, so you can have our help. We can do together. So if you need it, we can do it. But it's a completely different philosophy of tools. So it's not easy to do an automation to migrate SOA to OIC. I understand that Oracle was not able or didn't invest in this kind of tool to do the automation migration. from one environment to the other.
Okay, thanks, Luis. That's a very helpful contribution. I hope this completely answers the question or takes away any concern that there might be on this topic. I see no further questions coming in, so I think we can go and close the webinar. So we have arrived at the very end, and I would like to say thanks to Michaela, Desiree, Luis for being here, for sharing your rich experience with the audience, taking the questions, and for learning something here today during this JDE Talks. So thanks everyone. This was JDE Talks for today. We will see you again next month.
Okay, thank you to all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.